Okay, and just to go over the bronze casting method one more time, this diagram shows you the different components. You start with a model. A clay mold is built in sections around the model. After the molten bronze has been poured into the mold is removed and you have the completed vessel. The lost wax method, which was used later and in some other um, cultures during the Bronze Age, is a little bit different. So you first have your model, your armature. So this piece would be made out of wood. So this is basically the skeleton. Then you complete the model using clay. Now that you have the skeleton, you add the body essentially. You add wax over that. You add nails to pin it into place for support and clay. So in this way, you have clay in the inside, wax over it, clay over that. So kind of a sandwich of clay with wax in the middle. And next, when you heat it, that wax melts and is drained from the mold, leaving this chasm, this opening between where the two layers of clay were. Molten bronze is poured in there. Later, the mold is removed. It's a one-time use mold, which isn't as efficient as molds that were able to be used over and over again, but that's the way it goes with the lost wax method. So that mold is removed and destroyed, and you're finished with your sculpture, and you can add details and file off any sharp or rough edges that you might have gotten after the mold making process. Okay, I'm going to show you the tomb of the Marquis Yi. And you're going to see a couple of things. You're going to see a couple of chambers in this tomb. So in the eastern chamber, we find his lacquered double coffin, a coffin within a coffin. Also the coffins of 8 young women and a dog in its own coffin. You're going to see that same section contains weapons and a chariot, and also furniture, a zither, which is a stringed instrument, silk, and vessels, although no bronze vessels in this area. In the central chamber, there's a large set of bronze bells and instruments. There are also bronze ritual vessels. And in the north chamber, there's an armory and a storeroom for weapons. In the western chamber, there are 13 more young women buried without coffins, and we think this was the servants' quarters. So I don't have a great image of all of this, but you can see that these are essentially function as rooms in a house, and this is the Marquis Yi's 4-chambered tomb. It's a little tricky to get the scale from this image. I apologize for that, but it's rather large, rather like a smaller house, first floor of a smaller house, because we're shifting towards a new tradition in tombs. One of the items that was found in his tomb that's of great note is this bronze jar and basin. So this was created both with the piece mold method and the lost wax method, which is rather innovative. So the lost wax method was used to create these kind of hanging decorative pieces around it. If you look closely at it, you can tell that there are things kind of clipped on to the rim of the basin. So these were created in the lost wax method, and the center, the less decorative kind of core of the structure was created with the piece mold method. And this was used for either wine or ceremonial washing, or maybe both. We can find dragons and tigers decorating this basin, and a forest of tightly packed scrolls. The aesthetic here is of excess, so more is more. And this, being in the Marquis tomb, demonstrates that status was as important in death as it was in life. We found large grave goods in tombs in the upper class from the earliest times in China, but the huge change is starting to occur in elite tombs in the 4th and 5th century. One of those changes is that while we do continue to see examples of human sacrifice in the tombs, the slaughtering of humans and animals to accompany their masters or mistresses in death, it does start to become less common after this time, although it is going to be something that's practiced for hundreds of years to come. This switch comes at this time, and models of humans and animals are being substituted instead of actual people and animals. They're made out of clay and wood, and these changes reflect the religious beliefs of the upper classes at this time. The physical layout of the tombs is also changing. And similar to what we saw in the Marquis tomb, the tomb is now seen as a dwelling. So instead of things buried in a pit, objects are actually placed in rooms as they would have been in the home in life. Another change at this time is from about 500 BCE, the belief in spirits. So animals and quasi-animals who interact with both the living and the dead. Now, notably, these are not considered ancestors of the dead. These are independent spiritual beings that are separate from the dead and ancestors. Their presence in the tomb also indicates this new belief. And here is a embroidered silk shroud to end with today. And we're starting to see more shamanistic, kind of magical dragons, tigers, birds, and fauna in some of the items that were found in tombs after this time. So this is 300 BCE, and it's argued that possibly this was representative of where this upper class woman was hoping to go and interact with in the afterlife. Okay, thank you.